Good afternoon to all of our listeners and viewers of the NDC Heartbeat podcast. We're happy to have all of you on this afternoon. We are going to say a very warm welcome to those who are listening on radio via WeFM, Vibes FM, Spice Capital Radio, 100.5 FM out of Grenville. Say welcome to all those who are on the feed out of Ride Along, which is located Brooklyn, New York. Welcome. We also say welcome to those who are on our YouTube channel. So, today's episode, we're going to be featuring the parliamentary representative for St. George Northeast, the Honorable Ron Redhead. We'll be chatting with him shortly. But before we do, we'll just share with you some information which will be of interest to you, hopefully. So, stay with us. Back with you in a moment.
It's a chilly morning in London, but it's warm and exciting news to receive a gold medal for the Grenada's Chelsea Flower Show exhibit. The exhibit this year featuring the Golden Falls in Mount Horn, and it came out stunning. And as usual, it is creating a lot of attention, and people are fascinated by the vivid colors. And we have some team members here, Anderson and Roderick. Lovely work, lovely work. It was hard, but we got through. And we have the Bihari here and pink gingers. My favorite to work with, and this is Sherma, part of the team. And we have some stunning anthuriums with some Caribe, more gingers, and of course lovely, 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 lovely anthuriums. And in the back there we have the falls. Yeah, we have the falls. Sorry, the water is not on now. There is an electricity issue. But this is our exhibit, and it is stunning. Twisted Sisters, always lovely, with a great flair. And of course we featured all our spices, and celebrating our 50th anniversary, we highlighted that also, anniversary of independence. So this is what our exhibit looks like.
Welcome back to all those who are on the NDC Facebook platform today, those who are listening on radio, also on Facebook, YouTube. What we just shared there with you is Grenada securing gold at the Chelsea Flower Show in London. And we want to just give a big hail out of congratulations to the entire team led by Mrs. Kathy John. It was really another fantastic showing representing Grenada at the Chelsea show in London, and Grenada won gold one more time. This is about the 19th gold that Grenada is securing. So congratulations to the entire team, and let's give them a big shout out, all those who are on Facebook, YouTube, even on radio. Say congratulations to the entire team led by Mrs. Kathy John. Congratulations once again. Okay, so we're going to be having very shortly, we will introduce to you the representative for St. George Northeast, the Honorable Member of Parliament. What's his name again? Ron Redhead. Only kidding you. All right, back with you in a moment.
Join us for the Ultimate Bake Sale, hosted by the NDC New York Chapter Women's Group on Saturday, June 8, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at 204 Parkside Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, zip code 11226. Sink your teeth into tantalizingly tasty, mouth-watering homemade treats that will have you coming back for more. Every slice you buy supports a fantastic cause. Mark your calendars. Block off time in your diaries. Rally your friends, bring your appetite, and join us for a day of delicious fun on Saturday, June 8th, 2024, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., 204 Parkside Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, zip code 11226. For more information, call +1 347 581 5764 or call +1 347 606 6582.
All right, y'all, now close your eyes and just imagine that you wake up in one of the most beautifulest countries on the face of this earth. Yep, Grenada. This week we went and we checked out the island of Grenada, and let me tell you something, this was definitely an experience that we will never forget. Now, for starters, we stayed at the Villa Kaya Boutique Hotel, and this was a seashell suite. I did a whole video on this, but I just want you to take a look at everything that this had to offer. This has to be one of the best waterfront properties that you're going to find. It was extremely hard to leave this resort. Now, when I tell you, you will never run out of things to do in Grenada, from the waterfalls to the beaches to the activities. There were just so many different things to get into. On our second day on the island, we went and we visited the Grand Etain Forest Reserve. And y'all, look who I ran into. I found Dada Man himself. Look at Dada Man. These monkeys were very gentle, and guess what? He did not rip my face off like all them videos that you see on Instagram. Now, as far as food, the area that we stayed in has so many restaurants that were located within a 1 mile radius. You literally did not have to go far at all to grab food, drinks, or whatever you wanted to do. This place in particular was Umbrellas. This was a beachfront spot that had great food, great drinks, and we ate here 3 times. Y'all know how it is, man. You find that one thing that you like and you just run with it for a little bit until you get tired of it. All right, one of the next activities we did a rum tour. Now, this was located about 30 minutes outside of the area that we stayed in. This is an old property that they are still making the rum like they made it 100 years ago. They literally only can make this rum for the island specifically. As you can see here, my man is loading up the wood by hand. Oh my goodness, you talk about a damn workout. And you know what they say about black folks? When we break, we break. And this guy is tired. I'm tired, boss. I mean, we were standing next to him for about 10 minutes and he did not flinch. And like I said, these people are processing sugarcane by hand. The sugarcane is loaded into this machine right here by hand that my boy is sleeping on. And then they press it where it goes outside into these cylinders where it sits so that it can start the fermenting process. Now, they use this cart right here to push all of the shells out and they dump them. Now, once the sugarcane is squoze, it goes down into these tanks where someone else lifts it by hand in this thick bucket concoction that they got. Now, you can see I tried this for about 30 seconds and my man in the window was laughing his ass off at me because I was sweating bullets. After they heat it up in those tanks that you see my guy putting the wood in out front at the beginning, once it gets hot enough and it starts boiling, it evaporates and then it drains down into this filter, and this is where they fill the bottles up. Now check this out. This is where they allowed us to taste it. Now, I'm not saying I'm no drinker and I don't claim to be this big drinker or whatever, but this rum was like 100 and something proof, to a point where sometimes they can't even register it. They don't even know what the hell it is. I promise you, you probably have better luck drinking Clorox. It tasted great in mixed drinks, but taking a shot by itself is not a very, very smart thing to do, especially if you are not a drinker like we are. One of the last things we did, we stopped by and we did a quick chocolate tasting tour where we grabbed a couple sweets to go back to the resort and enjoy the rest of the day. All right, y'all, this is just a few things that we did on our stay on a beautiful island of Grenada. If you're a fan of the island life and you want to go somewhere where the sights, the food, and everything is just outstanding and beautiful, I definitely recommend you putting this very, very high up on your list. And like we always say, where to next?
Podcast. We want to once again just welcome all those who are listening on radio via WeFM, Vibes FM, Spice Capital Radio, 100.5 FM out of Labby in St. Andrew, Grenville in particular. And of course those who are on Ride Along out of Brooklyn, New York, and other stations who are picking up the Heartbeat episode today. Also, we want to welcome those who are on the NDC Facebook platform and our YouTube platform. Welcome to all of you to this NDC Heartbeat episode today. We have in studio with us the parliamentary representative for the constituency of St. George Northeast. He is the Honourable Ron Redhead. Welcome to Heartbeat once again. Been a little while, but good to have you.
Thank you, Terry.
Good to have you back.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Great, fantastic. I know there's been a lot happening in your constituency, and we want to talk a little bit about that. And I know that you are undergoing quite a number of training sessions in a number of areas, which would be of interest to our listening audience. So, tell us first of all, what has it been like? Because you've just entered into politics 2 years ago. Actually, this is young in politics. So, having responsibility for the constituency, what does that feel like? What has been the journey, being the representative for the constituency like, and what are your plans for the way forward?
Right. Well, thanks, Terry. I think in the last 2 years we have been able to identify what are some of the challenges. They are much more deeply rooted than we first imagined them to be. But as with everything, when you get additional challenges, you have to face it. Because I put my hand up for the job. And therefore, it did not take long for us to get a full assessment. Having crafted a constituency plan with a 4-point pillar, coming in and seeing the situation, we devised some excellent strategies as to how we were going to treat with the chronic problem of unemployment in the constituency, low economic activity, some of the social issues, and in particular the health and the lack thereof of access to quality education. So we have been able to begin the process to address the majority of them, and we are facing it head on. I think by and large, one of the benefits that we are doing in the constituency now is to return community spirit, community activism, community involvement and engagement. And that, Terry, I must report, is going well.
Yeah.
So
Great.
In a nutshell, the last 2 years, while we entered into unknown territory, so to speak, in certain respects, by and large, we have been able to get complete control over the development of our constituency, St. George Northeast.
Great. Well, that constituency, as you know, was once held by former parliamentarian, now deceased, George Prezant.
Yes.
Big shoes to fill.
Very big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is that his legacy is lasting. Everywhere you go, you still hear people talk about George Prezant, old, young, not so young. And it is a benefit, not necessarily to me, but for others to come, that we do have someone good that we can emulate and strive to be. And so while I am by no means any George Prezant, I think the most important thing is that I remain resolute and committed to serving my constituency.
Fantastic. Well, you also have a very dynamic leader out there too, in the name of Nazim Burke, former leader of the National Democratic Congress and former Minister of Finance.
Definitely.
So you have quite a lot of stalwarts in which to stand on their shoulders.
Definitely.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So what is happening in the constituency? Tell us, what are your plans and how is it going along, and what does the future hold?
All right. Well, so far, from an infrastructure standpoint, we have been able to complete our assessment in terms of the major projects that we would like to, or rather have to complete. Not because we are seeking to bribe anybody for votes, Terry, but because we have to do it, because for a long time they have been either neglected or people didn't understand that these infrastructure projects needed to be done. And so we have an excellent handle now. I must commend the Ministry of Infrastructure for their in-depth planning and their involvement of the Member of Parliament in almost every single infrastructure project. I must commend them for that. Small, not so small, the larger ones and medium ones. So we are doing the best that we can as it relates to that. We are beginning the transition process, Terry, so to speak, of not just focusing now on infrastructure development in the Northeast, but also going into more people-centered programs and projects. And by that, I want to take the opportunity to announce here that we have, since October of last year, launched an autism education training program. It is being done in the community of St. Paul's at the community center by a group NGO. It is paid for as a result of my involvement as Member of Parliament. And we are operating a very small program which has about 17 students with autism and different issues, challenges in terms of their own learning abilities and training them. What we are seeking to expand this program to do is not just train the students so that they can better interact and integrate into the normal education system, but to begin to engage their parents, begin to engage their guardians as to how they will treat with them so that no child is left behind, even though they may have limitations to learn. So that is going well. That has been piloted. It is going to be pilot for approximately 1 year, where we would then do the review, get the data, and then submit that certainly not just to the Ministry of Social Development, who is working closely with us, but education as well. Also, we have received the third and final proposal for our adult literacy program. We are pleased to say that hopefully sometime in July, that will be launched, and we would be training the first cohort of 20 adults from the hours of 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Night school, basic math, basic literacy. And we are also exploring a discussion with someone. We are hopeful that we'll have that discussion next week in St. George Northeast to be talking about digital literacy. It's a private individual who has a space from a very good private individual in the Northeast, Tempe, to be exact. There are a number of computers in that room, and they have come forward. Like in many instances of all the programs which we've launched, people are coming forward to bring proposals, and I am trying as Member of Parliament to bring it to life, so to speak, so that it can benefit not just the constituency, but the wider Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique.
Right. Tell me something, help us to understand. You talk about the autism training program.
Yeah.
Is it that you're training individuals as to how to deal with kids who have autism?
Yes. So that's one component. The other component is directly interfacing with the students themselves, helping them to read, learn to read, which is a critical part. Because notwithstanding their limitation, if they are able to comprehend, which we have seen in other countries and nations, they can still own businesses. They can still contribute and be productive citizens by utilizing their mind in the proper way. Part of the challenge is that after being born with such a condition, many parents who are not equipped with the capacity often let that child just fall by the wayside. And what we are seeing is that Grenada is a bit too small as a society to not at least make an attempt for those who can actually contribute to our development and nation building despite limitations. So it's a pilot project. It is in collaboration with the Ministry of Social Development, in particular community development, and it is something that we are hopeful could go a long way.
Right. Now, the reason why you have gone in that direction, is it that you have identified the need to assist such students in your constituency?
That's correct. That's correct. So in particular, I wouldn't want to call specific names in the community, but we have identified some parts where this is a major challenge for parents. And in fact, they have come forward to say, well, they need help, right? They don't have this. And then to get that kind of education or care is always often expensive. So what we have done is to create a pilot project which is highly subsidized, much less than the large professional ones, but through volunteerism, through contributions, through direct assistance and support from MP and government, we are able now to roll that program out. And we are in the monitoring phase of the pilot, and as I said, by October, we would have a conclusion on how well it went.
Well, that's rather interesting indeed. Would you say that we have a high level of autistic kids in Grenada?
Yes, we do. And
what could be the cause of it?
Right. So it's something based on the program and based on interacting with the program service provider. It is something that it is not easily identified. In younger children, for example, it is noticed with their own ability to ADHD, that can display ADHD, right? And in some instances, it is not a case where a child, as we would use local parlance, is dunce. Unfortunate to use that term. But it is that they have a learning disability that could be caused by emotional trauma, could be caused by other instances. And therefore, the capacity of the education system to at least intervene in that or on that level is something that we actually want to see from the constituency level, because many parents came to us, they say, well, child trying but just can't make it. And then the parent themselves, they are young and they do not have the ability and capacity, as mentioned, to treat with that. And so even if you send them to school, even if you send them to the best school, you often have or run the risk of them falling by the wayside because they just don't have the ability, and then the training they are getting is not what they need.
Right. So you talk about the ADHD, which is the attention deficit disorder.
That's correct.
And it's difficult for young parents to come to grips with it, first of all. And secondly, don't have the knowledge, the expertise to handle it.
That is correct.
But how are our teachers being mentally prepared to identify such students in the classroom?
Well, that is the gap.
Because if they are not trained to pick up on it quickly, then that kid just kind of tags along, and at the end of the day accomplishes very little.
That is what is happening. And so the program was launched in that regard to be able to assist in the long run in shaping policy around the education system, knowing fully well that access to education is certainly one aspect that we have begun the process by the removal of the tuition fees from a government standpoint. But in terms of now finding the root causes of why young men, for example, are not performing better or as close to as young women, that is something that requires a deeper introspection. And this program is aiming to target that, not only among the smallest among us, but if it is launched properly, it can go as high as secondary and probably even tertiary level, where the problem is already maturing.
It's you are touching on a rather deep subject matter there, which has national consequences.
Yes.
And to undertake such a project is really quite a very, very remarkable thing indeed, because the Ministry of Education, first of all, have to come to grips with the fact of what you are doing and how that collaboration can work towards assisting, these students, training of teachers, making them alert and aware as to the signs that they should be looking for and so forth. So it's a major undertaking. It's transformational in nature.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that there is a school in the Limes, a school for special education.
So we also interact with that school. There is a collaboration in particular with the principal from the service provider's end. And the aim is that at least from the students' standpoint, we can then pass that information, what we've gathered so far from the program, onto the school to help better equip the school's capacity to be able to treat with the children at the Lime School. And so, again, goes back to the philosophy that the Ministry of Education cannot do everything. And then from a community development level, we have to, as community leaders, constituency leaders, play our part to help making Grenada a bit stronger than we met it when we came in. So that's all part of it.
Fantastic. Well, with this pilot program, certainly this sounds to me as something that probably ought to go right around the island.
But that's the hope. That's the aim.
Yeah.
That's the hope and that's the aim.
And but of greater importance is maybe trying to conduct a study as to the real deep-rooted cause of kids having, to be subjected to attention deficit disorder issue and syndrome.
Right.
So maybe some of our
certainly
funding agencies.
Exactly. What I would like is, Terry, is for the funding agencies, yes, and the specialists who may exist in the country with the information to come forward. And don't only approach the Member of Parliament, that level is good, but certainly the Ministry of Education and government, so that we can be able to shape and influence policies that could benefit people.
Well, as a matter of fact, I'll take this opportunity to make a call to the diaspora.
Yes.
Asking competent, qualified experts, Grenadians and non-Grenadians, to respond to your initiative.
Yes.
And maybe you can share as to what which contacts would you like them to make contact with you on,
Right.
so that the ball can get rolling.
Definitely.
Where that is
We
concerned.
can share that with you.
Yeah.
We have a meeting upcoming this week with the Ministry of Social Development and the program manager and myself to discuss how do we continue, what are some of the challenges. We have some content that we need to get permission to post out there, but definitely we are going to be able to share that information with you.
Yeah, all right. Well, that'd be great. But in the meantime, someone can just probably email the Ministry of Education or email your office.
The Ministry of Social Development.
Development.
Community Development. You can
Okay.
email the Ministry of Community
All
Development.
right, community development,
Yeah.
because this is a major issue and this could be a huge, huge undertaking, transformational in nature,
Yes, indeed.
to deal with this problem that exists among young kids in
Yes,
Grenada.
Yes,
I mean, in doing my research here and there, mercury, high content of mercury, which is associated to some deep water fish, if too much is consumed, can create brain disorders. So a major study therefore needs to be undertaken in this area as to what may have led to these kids being subjected to this unfortunate condition.
Right. And it's part of the transformative vision of government, Vision 75, for example, which talks a little bit more about utilizing data to make decisions,
Yeah.
and not just running on emotions
Exactly.
and seeing things, but certainly having the specialized skills, being able to acquire the data needed and interpret that data so that you could influence and shape the policies required to fix some problems.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you probably started off thinking, well, okay, you're helping out a few kids in your constituency, but this is deeper than a lot of people may think.
Well,
and
we
it's-
struck oil.
Yeah, well, kind of to a sense that, we need to take this seriously and really
Yes.
put a lot of effort into it and getting a study going very soon.
Yeah.
The adult literacy program, which you also talk about, I mean, this again is another big plus for you in the constituency, and which should also go right around all the constituencies.
Oh, that's the aim.
Yeah.
So I'll share this with you. To a large extent, a lot of the adults who come to the constituency office are even unable just to write their names. Right? We have discovered that, and rather than discriminating and going down the whole rabbit hole of trying to say who is right and who is not and so on, what we are saying is that as a constituency, as the representatives or leaders in this instance, we need to actually do something about it. There are adults who, for whatever reason, are non-productive citizens, not because they do not want to, but because they cannot. And similar to the challenge with young people who are unskilled and unemployable, that is where we believe we need to fix. I remember during the election, an elderly said to me that, well, I only hear anything about the young people. What are they planning to do about the elderly?
Yeah, of course.
So, this is almost as a compensation, so to speak, to where we need to balance the equation. Government has done significant work in opening up greater opportunities for young people in the areas of training, and in particular skills training that is about to roll out from the government standpoint. But as it relates to those who we will sometimes seemingly say are the unforgotten, the forgotten, the need for government to also focus some attention there is critical, because it means, therefore, that is a young mother or middle-aged mother that would otherwise been cast out, whom we can help doing basic math, doing basic English. She can then seek to pursue a CSEC subject and take it from there. There are training courses at UE which could help with her professional and personal development, even though she is at age. And it sends this message, actually, that education has no boundaries. You don't stop learning. There is no cutoff point for education. Just the other day, I looked at an article online, and I saw this elderly person pursuing their doctorate.
Yep.
And so it says that it doesn't matter where you start. The goal or moral of the struggle is where you finish. And that is the message we want to send, that everyone would have the opportunity to further their education. It doesn't matter what age you are, you just have to be committed and ready to take up the challenge.
Well, I think it is equally correct to say that not all flowers blossom at the same time.
Right.
Some blossom in the winter, some
Yes,
blossom in the summer,
exactly.
in the spring,
Exactly.
and in the winter.
Exactly.
So take your choice.
Yes.
Well, that's great. And I just want to recollect the fact that, and to give kudos to the previous government,
Yes.
the People's Revolutionary Government. They were very strong on literacy training, adult literacy training.
There's a correlation
Yes.
between that and your ability to contribute to nation building. So that's what
Absolutely.
we're trying to
Absolutely, so indeed. And I know this is something more for the Ministry of Education,
Right.
but it's good that you have initiated this in your constituency,
Yes.
and hopefully we can see much more of this rolling out
Yes.
in the outer parishes and constituencies and so forth.
Definitely.
Great. Well, now tell us about the digital literacy
Right.
program which you are initiating.
Yes. So in St. George Northeast, we were looking for areas to assist government in rolling out its skills center training program. And so we, in looking at buildings, we are ever so often scouting because we want to help, we want to assist. And in this instance, as I mentioned, a young woman came forward with the idea. So it's not my idea. I am merely responding and being a conduit to facilitate that level of development, which in my view is my philosophy, how I believe a system should be run. That you have people with greater authority, but it does not mean that they have the jurisdiction just to rule with that authority with impunity. You need to involve people, and you need to have people a part of what you're doing.
Right.
The greatest gift of a leader is to train and develop other leaders, not just himself. So
Absolutely.
the lesson is that if we get more community-oriented people at the standard and level of rolling out programs, being involved in their communities, helping people, it makes for a much more dynamic and better constituency in St. George Northeast. And so giving the opportunities where that may be concerned is very important to me, and it's very important to government to be able to enhance, as we mentioned, the question of community involvement and development. So we are going to be receiving a first proposal in this regard. Again, with these things, the cost is always a factor because we have limited resources, as you would know. But the aim is that even if we start from a government standpoint, over time, private sector interests can grow and can fund these operations. So it's not meant to say that even if government started it, that we should be the ones only to continue, because the private sector, which contributes to business, commerce, economic growth, should also have a stake in the social aspect of our societies as well, in shaping that. And it goes a long way for them. So, because they may have greater access to funding than a government can do. Remember, it's a budget. You operate within context. You have to do things based on budget. And if you give up some here, you have to put it over here. So it's a bit limited from a government standpoint, but we are committed. So we have received this proposal. The aim is that if we could tie up an agreement soonest, we will then be in a better position to announce it to the constituency. Hopefully in the next coming months, after the start of the hurricane season, we would be in a position to announce where the adult literacy program is going to be held. One area is one of the private schools up in Mount Parnassus. We are hoping to have different schools throughout the constituency. And again, it's using our environment to our advantage. So I'll give you this joke. Northeast, as a constituency, have rural schools. And so it is not enough to say they have rural schools, whether private or public, but it is to see how we can utilize those institutions to be able to bring benefits, not just to the students now, but to the constituency itself, so that they may request time and time assistance, but they can also give back to the community. And so it's about building that those partnerships through our programming in the constituency.
Great, fantastic. Well, we're going to take a short break and back with you in a moment.
Show me your ID. You walk with your man, you walk with your woman. Party lover. I come to party, we no shooting up nobody. Come to party, no violence in this country. You come to party, I want a peaceful party. We come to party, we body feeling hot, hot, hot.
Hi, hello, I'm Super Flying Flint, and I got a message for everybody. The message is, let's create a safer community for all of us. Put down the guns and let us party.
The gun amnesty remains in effect until July 30th. A message from the Ministry of National Security.
Show me.
Join us for the Ultimate Bake Sale, hosted by the NDC New York Chapter Women's Group on Saturday, June 8, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at 204 Parkside Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, zip code 11226. Sink your teeth into tantalizingly tasty, mouth-watering homemade treats that will have you coming back for more. Every slice you buy supports a fantastic cause. Mark your calendars. Block off time in your diaries. Rally your friends, bring your appetite, and join us for a day of delicious fun on Saturday, June 8th, 2024, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. 204 Parkside Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, zip code 11226. For more information, call +1 347 581 5764 or call +1 347 606 6582.
Welcome back to the NDC Heartbeat podcast. We have in studio with us the Honorable Ron Redhead, Parliamentary Representative for St. George Northeast. Minister, tell us, what are your parliamentary responsibilities at this point in time?
Right. Well, at this point in time, it is almost everything. Unfortunately so. I think in studying the pause of a parliamentarian, perusing the Constitution, perusing other aspects in terms of policy shaping, etc., I believe that the issues that come to the Member of Parliament are somewhat still trivial. We are not diving deeply into root causes of challenges and problems and concerns, and therefore would like to see more of that. So one of the areas that the government is engaged in, for example, is to be able to look at legislative amendments or bills that have to be passed that can bring about deeper change from a societal standpoint. I tend to see myself somewhat as a reformist, right? I am a little progressive, but I tend to see myself as a reformist, meaning that wherever you go, you try to make it different in a better way. And reforms don't have to mean that you're changing things completely, but you're just taking what does not work currently and enhancing it or amending it. And in this instance, government is attempting to lead a very progressive legislative agenda as we speak. And so on June 6th, for example, we would be having another parliamentary sitting where bills such as firearms amendment would be brought forward, the criminal procedure procedure code amendment that will be brought forward, and the Education Act amendment. We are doing these things, so I'll give you one example. The Education Act, we want to basically change the compulsory age for school up to 18. One of the challenges that we have identified from a national perspective with that is that the young people leaving the school system voluntarily is often prone or vulnerable to influences of crime, drugs, you name it, the negatives. And as such, what we believe is that from a government standpoint, or rather a national standpoint, what we should be doing is encouraging more of our young men in particular and young people to stay in schools. So one of the reasons why we are doing that is to put it up to 18, but not leave them with the same options, but to further deepen and entrench skills training so that in the event that they are not so academically inclined, there is the alternative to still keep them and make them into productive citizens of Grenada. And so we are amending that because we believe it is useful, it is necessary as a government from a policy standpoint to be able to do that, shape the policy so that we see improvements in young people and their ability to stay in school longer and still come out with something, notwithstanding they may not be so academically inclined.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Yeah.
Well, I know that was part of the transformation aspect, as Prime Minister had indicated. You go up to 18 to empower the student much more as they go into the world of work and so forth. So that's great. Any other bits of bills that you want to give us some snippets on?
Well, yes. So we do have an amendment to the firearms. For now, what I would say is that I am aware of a government press conference. So I suspect that we would hear further from the line ministers as we go into June the 6th, which is the date carded for the sitting of the House of Representatives. So I am encouraging all Grenadians to listen to the Government Information Service for more information as it is made available. So I do not have all of the bills in front of me as we speak, so I wouldn't want to speak on them too much, but just to say that that is going to be amended. You know what's going on with the whole crime situation in the country. And might I add on that note, Terry, that I think we need to continue to support the Royal Grenada Police Force. They are doing their job, which not every one of us can do, and therefore it is not prudent to be venturing into territory to criticize. I think now what we need to stay focused on is to allow them and support them in any way, whether it is through information or facilitating them to get data, cameras on buildings, etc., to be able to bring this situation to a halt. We are not happy with it, definitely and naturally so, but talking about it in any way to blame this person and throwing people under the bus is not the answer. What is the answer now is to allow the institution to function and give it all the support that it requires to function. On this note, I want to say that the Government of Grenada, Ministry of Infrastructure, is already working to move the headquarters, police headquarters on Carnage. I'm certain that you would have seen the update from them. We have completed, as government, have completed the restoration of the St. Paul's police station and trying to make the environment from an infrastructure standpoint a bit stronger. So work is ongoing. Much more has to be done. But for now, let us continue to support and encourage the members of the Royal Grenada Police Force so that they can do their jobs professionally, without fear and favor, and bring the situation to a halt.
But just a couple, maybe 2 weeks ago, they have been reporting some real progress. We need to congratulate the police force on the successes over the past 2 weeks. We want to encourage them to continue progressing in that area, and to also continue encouraging the general public in assisting the police by way of information.
That's true. And even just the firefighting team of the Royal Grenada Police Force, for example. I want to place on record my appreciation for their service in the episodes of fires that took place in St. George Northeast. In fact, Terry, in the last, there were at least 4 days, I became a firefighter.
Wow.
Because I had to be involved in the operations itself, planning it. At the highest level, thanks to Prime Minister for giving me as Member of Parliament the opportunity to do that along with NADMA. So that was a wonderful experience, and we got to utilize the drones, and we got to utilize volunteers who came out in their numbers, and we assisted in a great way to control the fire. So far, we were in a situation where absolutely no houses got touched, even though in most cases the fires were really threatening homes. And I must commend the members of the Royal Grenada Police Force, fire department, and I think they did an excellent job, continue to do an excellent job. And wherever they may be listening, wherever they are, out fighting fires or on base, continue to do your best. They have already made some proposals to me. So as Member of Parliament, I have seen some of the things that they can do, which are inexpensive, to help bolster their capacity. So I'm going to be passing that information on to my colleagues so that we can continue to invest the resources in the right areas for the fire department.
Great. Well, where there is fire, then there is need for water. And I believe Nawasa also needs to be congratulated in trying to stay on top of the demands for water. We must remember Nawasa don't make water; they only treat water
and supply it. Right?
Exactly.
Which is what we need to have the conversation about. Now, I could say this, that only on Thursday of last week, one of the private sector businesses in the Northeast phoned me to say that they want to do something about this upcoming drought, and as such, they are asking me to make whatever meetings, whatever arrangements happen so that they can assist. I don't know the nature of that assistance, but what we are trying to do is to find a way to see how private sector can contribute to bolstering our capacity in the Northeast and by extension Grenada in fighting this upcoming drought season. Because notwithstanding you have the hurricane season on one end, which is going to be hyperactive as forecasted, but you also have to compensate for the forecast that has gone out for the droughts, and how you as a constituency, a community, a business, private individual, how do you treat with that situation, and what are the things that you can do to at least mitigate? And so Nawasa as an entity is trying its best, and what we need to do again is not try to seek to throw people under the bus, because you can't spend all your time in fighting down and so on. You have to be building up right now. And so what we need is all hands on deck to be able to solve this problem. Historically, even in the Senate, everybody knows my position as it relates to how I see the whole aspect of Nawasa in terms of what we need to do. And so I want to lend that concern and share it, but not do it in a way that I'm looking to blame them, but to say that this is what we can do. And being in a position as a member of parliament, I'm trying to facilitate private interest to see how they can collaborate with Nawasa to improve the storage capacity on one end, and certainly to mitigate against the drought.
Yeah, absolutely so indeed. And of course, I know that the management, they're looking at reactivating boreholes and so forth. And even in the flat areas where there are hotels, homes, etc., that are almost at sea level. The plans are to install, wells, so that such water can be used for watering plants and
that
cleaning
that is done
roadways.
in Karakou at the moment. Now I can't tell you if all are active, but it's an option. And so sometimes when you face difficulty, if you have the right leadership, it could actually bring out the better. As opposed to the worst. So sometimes it's not always good to just blame, well, Nawasa ain't doing this, they ain't doing that. But you yourself as a private individual, see what role you can play. When a hurricane is coming, you must have your plan. You must purchase and stock up on batteries, candles, different groceries and so on, so that if in the event something occurs, you yourself have something. It doesn't mean that NADMA or the government would not be willing to give out aid and so on during the period, but certainly as a private individual, much like the lesson with COVID, you have a responsibility too. So don't abdicate that just to the entity, but see how you can work along with them to make it better.
Yeah, but it's important to point out that this administration is just about 2 years in its making. And all of the challenges that, the nation faces at this point, you must ask yourself the question, what was happening over the past 25 years? Now, seriously. We continue to have water shortage problems year in, year out over decades. I mean, I refer to now Curacao and Aruba, very dry. They're never out of water, simply because they planned over the many years. Every home in Curacao and Aruba has a well. They treat their water from the sea. They don't have a problem. They only get about 15, 20 inches of rain per year.
Wow.
Not out there is real desert land.
Okay.
But it's about the planning that you put in place
Right.
to sustain your needs over the years.
Right.
To come.
And again, this is why when we talk about development, we have to manage expectations sometimes. And notwithstanding that, I have seen, for example, people are able to just freely criticize policy and so on without giving alternatives, and that exists today. But the point is, you need to say that, let's say 20 years, if you had the same type of leadership for that length of time, and we have not seen any major improvement, it was a lack of planning.
Oh,
Because you could actually have the vision, but if you're not planning as to how you're going to implement the vision, then it makes absolutely no sense. And so I think this is what differs now in terms of the situation, that for the first time in a long time, Terry, we are committed not just to beating our chests that we do this or we do that. But what we are looking at is the long-term sustainable development of the country.
Yeah.
So it's resilience, right? Things like drought. This has been a historic problem.
Absolutely.
Ever since I go into school, I know you have dry season, you have wet season. And therefore you need to plan either for the flood mitigation projects or you need to plan now for the drought, which we are seeing is prevalent. So we should not be surprised when these things are occurring. If as a society we are mature enough, we would understand that it takes a lot of data research, but planning is a critical part.
Yeah, but it's important to point out to the population that these problems existed over the decades.
Of course.
And here it is, a new administration is now putting things in place to transform
Right.
these conditions which existed in the past. But some ill-informed persons are thinking, well, that's the problem of this government.
Right.
And they created it.
Right.
They need to understand that the government is trying to solve these old, age-long problems.
Definitely.
So that needs to be made clear from time to time.
Yes. Well,
We inherited this. We're now fixing it.
right. Yeah, and we're up to the task. I think 2 years or not, the commitment of the government is to get it right. We have no baggage that we want to carry from the past in terms of the problems. As mentioned from day one by the Honorable Prime Minister, what works, we leave, we enhance. What does not work, we get rid of and we fix.
Fix it.
And that's just simply the mantra. Taking into consideration that process now requires the involvement of people too, right? Because it can't just be a government-led initiative only. I think of a whole of society approach from private sector and community as well is required to help fixing some of these issues, right? What you do in the community in terms of when you use water, the types of businesses that exist. If you have alongside a particular main road 12 points that washing down vehicles with hose, you have to start considering what are the restrictions that you may have to put there, because the water resource is limited and therefore sometimes you can't just do things just like that. So planning it so that the business that is approved know fully well that because within proximity business X exists and they use the same method you are going to use to wash down a vehicle, then you may have to move the business somewhere else. In other words, it's just saying that it is about the whole planning scenario.
Absolutely. We're going to take just a short break and come right back to you because time has caught up with us. And so we're going to put on the screen, it's an event taking place out in Constituency of St. David. It's the women's arm of the NDC. They're having a breakfast, barbecue lunch, and all-day pop-up market. And this is taking place on June the 1st. At Natural Works Grounds. So come on out and give support to the NDC Women's Arm June 1st and be part of this entire exercise. It goes right into the evening. So be there and you can enjoy lots of goodies and so forth there. Also, Northwest is having an event out there. Let me see if I can get this moving. Let's see. I don't know. Trying to get creative.
Much awaited, much anticipated St. George Northwest. DNA Cruise, happening on Wednesday the 29th, May 2024. We are setting sail from the Carronage, St. George's, aboard the Rum Runner 2. Boarding starts at 7 p.m. sharp. Get ready to dance the night away with Ben Legs and Fisherman Jr., bringing you the hottest tunes whilst you dine and lime. Come dressed in white and glow under the Caribbean stars. Your ticket includes a mouth-watering barbecue feast. Hurry, get your tickets today. Priced at $60. Call Tanya on 535-9937 or Alicia on 459-3621 or Shanda on 414-4893.
Okay, Laco, that is Northwest. Northwest having their cruise. Well, time is certainly has caught up with us, so tell us quickly about some of the construction stuff you're having out in your constituency.
All right, so we just completed the Granton Farm Road. That was an excellent project area, and I must say that for the first time in my recollection, being involved in frontline politics since about 2013, 2014, I heard that a major project had savings to the tune of about $800,000.
Wow.
Right, so the Grenadian public can rest assured that this administration is keen on ensuring that we do things in an efficient manner. I think the principle of why MIT was created, wherever Minister MIT is right now, I want to say that his vision and philosophy is certainly translating throughout, and CYRE did a very excellent job in achieving that vision and mandate of MIT, which is to do it faster, cheaper, and save the taxpayers a great deal. So we are able now to divert some of that resources into another farm road in vicinity, which will help bolster the smaller farmers to be able to move their crops. The project at New Hampshire, again, is ongoing. We are in the process of repairing the gaps, driveways, and so on of residents. And once we have a complete fulfillment of that promise, I would then come back to the constituency and the nation and see what the next step would be. But the aim is to get this project out of the way. We do not have any affinity to hold on to project to use it as some bargaining agent for votes and so on in an election. I think if you're serving a constituency, there is a term and you must do your utmost best, notwithstanding that you just start, but you must do your utmost best to serve with distinctions. And so notwithstanding we met challenges with that project, we are committed to resolving all of it and to ensuring that it is completed. We have in the community of Lamode, Lillet, that road is going to commence shortly. The Ministry of Infrastructure would announce some of the major projects, but notwithstanding that, we are still informed. We are a part in terms of influencing shaping how the project should go, and what are the areas we would give priorities to, so that the constituency would know over the next year or two, these are the 5 or 6 major projects that we will complete. So it's going well. The New Hampshire preschool is also under reconstruction under the OECS project.
Great. Well, thank you so very much indeed. Member of Parliament, Ron Redhead. We're going to continue on for just a minute or two, but I want to say goodbye to those listening on radio, WeFM, Vibes FM, Spice Capital Radio, 100.5 FM. And thank you for joining the Heartbeat today. And we'll continue for another minute or 2 or 5 online. So those who are listening on radio, thank you very much for being part of the Heartbeat today. And please join us online. So as the parliamentary representative for the Northeast constituency, what is the relationship like with your constituents? How do you feel about your constituents right now?
Right. Well, I feel very positive because they give me the drive. I must commend a vast number of them who normally pass by just to say, keep on fighting, that sort of thing. They really gave me the support after the transition, coming out from cabinet. I think, and pursuing the degree, I think that is going well. We've made some changes to the school itself, but I am committed to finishing within the time frame that we agreed to, and to be able to get back there and do what we have started, which is the transformation of our people. But the constituents are just awesome where that is concerned. So from private sector, for example, their involvement in our community programs, that is something that I am very, very happy about. And I admire that they are not just saying, well, they'll give a little money here and they're gone. They want to be a part of the program. They want to be on the poster. They want to, so this augurs well for us, and it speaks to our own ability to bring something different, and to say that's something that we bring in which is different is to bring people together. So for example, I was elected to serve the entire constituency. So whether the other side or my party, what we are trying to do is to say that on some common issues, we have to find middle ground. We have to work those common issues. And where we differ and we have our political stance, that is natural, that is normal. But we shouldn't go about hating one another for it. So I often try to be as respectful to everyone, whether you're from another party or not. Because I think it makes no sense for me to judge anybody based on who they vote for. I think what we need to say is that if a man or a woman has a skill or talent that could contribute to the wider benefit of the constituency, then we should be all proud and happy to have them on board, and so that they could do that work. Where they vote, that's their business, right? But I would certainly like them to vote in the right direction, which
Indeed.
I perceive to be the right direction. But, to say to everybody in the Northeast, is a love, is a vibe, no hatred. Certainly from my standpoint, I do not spend my time arguing with constituents. I think I want to build more than destroy. And wherever we see an opportunity, we try to facilitate as best.
Great, fantastic. Well, as we come to the close of this program, let me thank you for being part of the Heartbeat today. And let me announce to the audience that the Honorable Ron Redhead has agreed to host the Heartbeat next Sunday.
Well, thanks for the update.
So for all our listeners and viewers out there, the Honorable Ron Redhead will be hosting the Heartbeat next Sunday. And he will continue to assist with the Heartbeat program on Sundays from time to time, God's willing. As we come to the close, let me invite you therefore to give your final closing comments.
Well, no, I think we can safely say the problems are certainly great in terms of what we had thought of them to be, but we are certainly, as a government, as a people, up to the task. We want to build this country, we want to move this country forward, and we believe in our people's capacity to be able to do that. And in whatever way we can support, enhance, facilitate, we are here to do just that and many more.
Great, fantastic. Well, thank you once again for being part of the Heartbeat, and continue to enjoy your Sunday afternoon and the great works that you're undertaking out in St. George, Northeast.
Thank you.
Member of Parliament and Parliamentary Representative Ron Redhead.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to all of you who have listened out there, tuned in, be it on the Facebook feed or YouTube or on radio, we thank you for being part of the Heartbeat today, and join us again next Sunday when we will bring you another interesting episode. Thank you. Continue to have a great Sunday afternoon. Goodbye.